This week on Christian World News, President Donald Trump spearheads the long-fought battle for criminal justice reform. Evangelicals strongly support the bill, but will Congress make it a reality?
Plus, an Indonesian teenager suddenly lost at sea, floating aimlessly with nothing but a Bible on board. See how this teen's worst nightmare becomes a powerful testimony.
And a ship from Sweden makes an historic voyage to the Holy Land with a profound message. Welcome to Christian World News, everyone. I'm Wendy Griffith.
And I'm Mark Martin. George Thomas is on assignment. Compassion for prisoners is one of Jesus' tests for being a disciple. But in Washington, D.C., prison reform is not a popular topic.
That's right, Mark. Evangelicals are among several groups supporting a law aimed at giving inmates a second chance. Now President Trump is backing that effort. Amber Strong has a story from America's capital.
The movement toward criminal justice reform received a welcome and necessary boost on Wednesday.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my support for this bipartisan bill that will make our community safer and give former inmates a second chance at life after they have served their time.
The clock is ticking on Congress's chance to make real changes to the criminal justice system. And while things couldn't be more divided here on Capitol Hill, advocates say the time to act is now. They include Kelly Paul, wife of Senator Rand Paul.
I came to this issue a little bit through my work in Kentucky, visiting various halfway houses, recovery centers like the Hope House and the Isaiah House, and realizing how pervasive our drug problem is and how we need alternatives to incarcerating people.
Paul also saw how prison life specifically affected female inmates.
People are not aware of some of the things that were going on in our prisons. First and foremost, women who were giving birth were being shackled.
For Paul, fixing the problem reaches directly to the heart of justice, right and wrong.
If you look at the numbers, that whites and blacks use drugs at the same levels, but if you look at the rates of incarceration, you know, people of color are incarcerated at much higher rates. I'm a conservative, but I always say, you know, big government really hurts people from all walks of life. I think a lot of times when progressives hear conservatives talk about big government, they think we're just concerned about taxes or overregulation or business or economics. But really, this is a civil rights issue.
So Mrs. Paul is doing something she says her friends aren't used to seeing, bringing her desire to right those wrongs straight to Washington. And she's not alone. The push for criminal justice reform extends far beyond the halls of Congress. Everyone from Christian advocacy groups to celebrities to the president's son-in-law, all working together for change.
Jared Kushner has been the pivotal player in this. He personally comes to this issue. His own father was incarcerated, and he has been the driving force inside of the White House in making sure that this gets done.
Former prisoners have also been instrumental in this fight, along with those who preach about second chances. 2,000 pastors signed a letter in support of Congress's latest effort. The bill, dubbed the First Step Act, calls for more opportunities to receive good time credit, better conditions for women, and incarcerating prisoners closer to families. It's been a tough decision for a president who campaigned on law and order, but support from the National Fraternal Order of Police seemed to help balance the scales.
The bill includes reasonable sentencing reforms while keeping dangerous and violent criminals off our streets.
The ball is now in the Senate's court, where advocates hope this lame duck session can lead to a second chance for prisoners and families across the nation. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Amber. Pastor Paula White is a faith advisor to President Trump. She's played a major role in the effort to reform our justice system. Earlier on CBN's Faith Nation, D.C. reporter Jenna Browder spoke with Paula White and her husband Jonathan Cain to talk about how the idea came about and why it's so important to our nation.
Well, what started as just a conversation. We had a dinner, 40 of us that have been friends of the president and people of faith. when he first went into office, and Jared and Ivanka were there and some of the senior advisors, it really started as a small seed. And at Jared's table, they were talking about, you know, if every church adopted someone when they came out of prison, we could solve the recidivism rate. And of course, this was a passion of Jared. So we began to do listening sessions and research and best practices, and here we are right up to the First Step Act. And I believe that Congress, the House, will do the right thing, that they will pass this bipartisan bill, and that we will see one of the greatest wins for humanity, because we all want people's lives to be better. We all deserve a second chance. While it really is very protective, it still secures things with security, but what it does do is it gives people vocational training, faith-based programs, to be able to be housed, to be able to be educated, get the skills, continue mentoring. To that reacclimation is what's so vitally important.
Well, both of you are real fixtures at the White House. You are constantly there. Jonathan, this next question for you. What does it say about this administration that it is so open and so invitational toward evangelicals and the faith community?
Well, you know, Mr. Trump has always had a heart for God. His mother was a devout Christian. He still has the Bible that you know, she gave him. And from the very beginning, you know, he spoke to faith leaders before he was president, and felt very strongly that Christians needed a voice and needed to vocalize their feelings about what's going on in the world. And so I'm not surprised that, you know, promises made, promises kept here. Also, you know, Vice President Pence and his heart, you know, and the prayer now that we're seeing, like we were at in the treaty room, at the Indian treaty room at the Eisenhower building, many of the worship leaders all came, and pastors, to hear the fine works that this administration is doing.
And Paula, I know you posted a video, I think this might have been the same thing, where it was a room full of faith-filled believers worshiping and singing.
Worship leaders, yeah, very, you know, Danny Goki and many others came. What can we do, you know? And they want, it's time now. They feel like they can voice their opinions, and it's just really refreshing to see.
How often does something like that happen?
All the time. And that's what, Jenna, people get so surprised. Like, I'll never forget when we went in the office and prayed over President Trump, and it went viral. And I'll say secular news media was like, what's going on? You know, what's happening? And what was happening is everyday normal.
That's wonderful to hear. A number of ministries are focused on encouraging and helping Christians to run for public office. One that's been at it for decades here in Washington now finds itself at the center of the battle for America's soul. Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
The D. James Kennedy Center for Christian Statesmanship has one goal: to equip Christian leaders for battle in the public arena.
We train them in the U.S. Constitution, in biblical worldview, political philosophy, and then we have classes on public speaking, how to do media interviews, how to handle ambush interviews, all the things that they're going to face out there on the campaign trail.
Ray Gonzalez completed the program and just ran for Congress in Texas.
I believe that one of the things that has driven a lot of folks to the polls is seeing just how far our country has veered from biblical principles. So to fix that, the only thing left for voters to do is to go to the polls. But the one thing that those of us who have been called to serve can do is to actually run for office.
Each year, the center awards a leader who lives life in a way that honors God. And Tuesday, that distinction went to Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe for making his life count for Christ. Oklahoma's junior Senator James Langford previously received the award.
It's very interesting for me to be able to hear some people say, well, if you come from a biblical worldview, then really that's a ministry or that's private life. That doesn't really spill over into your public life. That's not only contrary to who we are as Americans, that's contrary to what we believe even as Christians. 36 of the 39 books of the Old Testament were written to, by, or about a political leader. A third of the New Testament was written to a political leader. Saul's mission when he became Paul was to go to the Jews, the Gentiles, and the Gentile kings. This political engagement and this ministry to people in politics, as well as engaging in what is our culture, should be a part of who we are.
Having people with a biblical worldview, people who know how to articulate what the scriptures say, and to be able to present that to others, and to be able to defend their positions in that way, we need more of that in this country.
And the center is accepting Christian students to begin classes in January, February, and March of 2019. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, a terrified teen lost at sea. See how the Bible helped bring him home.
God Almighty is a God of blessing. He always wants to bless His people. But how do you get that blessing? And what principles will unlock that secret?
In Miraculous Blessings, Pat Robertson shows you how to open the floodgates of God's awesome blessings in your life.
In order to have a blessing, you've got to be blessable.
Discover what the Bible has to say about God's covenant of blessing, the laws of blessing, and what are the hindrances to the blessings of God.
The words of Jesus, they are as valid as the law of gravity, and if we follow those laws, we will be blessed.
You'll see amazing true stories of everyday people whose lives were rescued and transformed by God's miraculous blessings.
But even the doctors acknowledged that this had to be a miracle.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com to become a CBN partner and get miraculous blessings today.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Welcome back to Christian World News. Bulgaria's parliament is considering a bill that would severely restrict evangelicals and other minority faiths. The bill favors the majority Eastern Orthodox and Muslim religions. Leaders of all faiths, even those the bill favors, oppose the bill. One evangelical spokesperson told CBN News the threat has brought all members of the body of Christ together.
We as a Christian community all over the country did prayer rallies and peaceful protests. And in my opinion, right now, the church in Bulgaria is more united than ever before.
And you can follow CBNnews.com for updates on this story.
In Pakistan, Asia Bibi has still not been allowed to leave the country. The Christian woman was acquitted from charges of blasphemy against Islam last month. Her life remains at risk as radical Islamists have called for her death in an uproar of protests. More than 230 parliamentarians from various countries have signed a letter to Pakistan's prime minister asking for Bibi and her family to be granted asylum.
A 19-year-old Indonesian man was lost at sea for 49 days, but he managed to survive because of one possession that gave him hope.
Amazing. Now, in his first interview with Western media, he shares his miracle story. Our Lucille Toulousan sat down with him.
In the middle of a summer storm at sea, heavy wind snapped the moorings of Aldi Adilang's fishing raft. On that late July night, he was suddenly swept into the Pacific Ocean.
When I drifted away, I was not scared at first because I thought it's okay. Some boat will see me and rescue me. But after many weeks passed, I began to be fearful. What if no one sees me?
After a few days, Aldi's food and water ran out. He survived by catching fish and cooking them by burning wood from his hut. He sipped seawater through his clothes. Aldi began to grow desperate.
At night, I got very scared because many sharks were circling my raft. I was afraid I will not see my parents again, my family, and my friends. I thought of jumping into the sea and just commit suicide.
It was on a raft like this where Aldi spent 49 days adrift in the deep seas without a paddle or a motor. He said that he was terrified and almost gave up. But he also testifies that it was the Bible that gave him the determination to live.
I had my Bible with me. I become strong again when I read the Bible. I prayed. I also sang worship songs. And when I do this, all my fears are gone. God spoke to me. He said, "Be patient. I will come and help you."
After Aldi's rescue off the coast of Guam, he was reunited with his family in Indonesia. Today, they sing together in the church choir about God's goodness and faithfulness that has become so real in their lives.
God is so great. I thank God for taking care of me every day. He never leaves us, even in dangerous situations.
Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Manado, Indonesia.
Powerful story. Well, up next, we take you aboard a Swedish boat headed towards Israel, bringing blessings and a powerful message.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
We had 4 jobs that didn't go right. But, we didn't waver in our faith.
That's when God put on my heart that we needed to do the well.
Within a couple of days, we got an insurance refund check that we had no idea was coming.
And here we are, this year, it's just boom.
You go out and help other people and you get rewarded for it.
Get Pat Robertson's latest teaching, Miraculous Blessings.
Welcome back. Well, recently, a ship from Sweden set sail on an historic voyage manned by a group of Christians. It made its way for the Holy Land to speak out on behalf of persecuted believers in the Middle East.
And carry a blessing to the Jewish people. CBN's Chris Mitchell reports from on board the Alita.
As this more than 100-foot vessel sailed into Herzliya Harbor, dozens of other ships, boats, and even windsurfers came out to greet her.
I saw this whole fleet coming towards us from Herzliya. It's like, how many are they going to be? We thought maybe 2, 4, 5. And in the end, we were just surrounded all around with all these small and large ships. And I had to literally pinch myself. I was like, what are we part of?
The name of the ship is called Alita, and it sailed from Sweden for 2 reasons.
We want to show solidarity with 2 groups. First of all is the Christian minorities in the Middle East that are about to go extinct. So we're trying with this sail to raise our voice, to say, listen to them and to those who are left. This is the cradle of Christianity itself. And Christians are almost going extinct. because they're killed for their faith. Then where can we sail with this message? And the only answer is Israel, because first of all, it says Jesus, sailing for Jesus on the side. There's no other country in the Middle East that would open up their ports for us. And it's the only country in the Middle East where the Christians are growing in numbers. So we want to support Israel in this.
The inspiration came to Captain Stefan Abramson in 2017 during the Jerusalem prayer breakfast, when a waiter told him,
"You are Christian, you are a Swedish guy, and you love Israel. I have never ever met a person like that." And then I said, "Hello, we are a lot of people in Sweden who loves Israel." When I come home after that prayer breakfast, I felt we have to do something. We can't only sit here and don't do anything. You know, for me, love is nothing you talk about. Love is something you're doing.
That doing turned into an historic voyage to Israel, along with a message.
I say to them, "Hello, you are here of a purpose. God gave you the 10 Commandments and you gave the Torah. And that's the most beautiful gift you gave to the whole world community." They don't used to hear Christian people especially not from Sweden, saying this word to them. But from deep of my heart, I believe that's true. So as a Christian, I have to support Israel. I have to support the value of what they're standing for.
Sweden is considered by some the most anti-Israel country in Europe. Captain Abramson and his crew want to change that.
I'm praying for a golden age between Jewish and Christian communities. I believe that what we're doing now is something God wants us to do.
CBN News joined the Alita as it set sail in the Mediterranean along the coast of Israel.
The Alita attracted attention from all over Israel. Today, Israeli Sea Scouts came on board for a hands-on experience.
They hoisted the anchor, manned the helm, and relished the experience. Also on board, Dan Sheckman, who won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2011.
We need more friends like this that will come to visit us and will give us a word of support, action of support, and tell the people in their countries, hey, Israel is a wonderful place.
The crew didn't expect such an enthusiastic welcome.
We've been blown away of the love that we've been met, but also by invitations to all these different places.
Some Israelis came skeptical, but left changed.
When people come on board and they meet us and they meet the love and just friendship, it's changing hearts. One by one, we're changing hearts. And some people have literally been crying. And one crew member said it's like they've been starved for attention from Sweden.
Karen sees the Bible come to life.
If you read Isaiah talking about ships coming from the Gentile nations to Israel and showing their support for the nation, I mean, yes, it's part of it. And I do think that there's a time when we need to express their love and to side by side with the Jewish nation.
As the voyage ended, Captain Abramson shared his heart with the visiting Sea Scouts.
We sail all the way from Sweden to start a movement of friendship between Sweden and Israel. I wish you everything the best, and I hope to see you again in the future. Thank you very much for coming here.
Then they taught the Swedish captain an Israeli cheer.
Ale! Yeah! Ale! Yeah! Ale!
Yeah, yeah, yeah!
Earlier, he played Israel's national anthem, Hatikva. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, on board the Alita off the coast of Israel.
Wow, they were having so much fun, and I love what that Swedish captain said. He said, love is not just talking, it's doing.
So true, and I just love the sign there on the ship, sailing for Jesus.
Sailing for Jesus.
And they have some true friends there in Sweden, and what courage for those Swedes to do this.
God bless them.
Yeah, turn the tide in that country.
Great story.
Sweden. Yes, we'll be right back.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Thanks for staying with us. Pastor Rick Warren of Saddleback Church in California is recovering after emergency surgery. Warren was hospitalized to treat an intestinal condition. In an email sent to church members, he thanked everyone for their prayers and said, "God has been good to me." Warren also said he will need a second surgery after Christmas.
Glad he's doing well.
Yeah, wish him the best.
Well, an exhibit honoring the late Billy Graham provides a rare look into his personal side.
John Jessup takes us inside Washington's Museum of the Bible for a closer look at the relationship between the man who is known as America's pastor and the gospel he proclaimed.
Through giant pictures and quotes, the presence of Billy Graham looms large here, much like in his life. Now, months after his death, this exhibit brings a more intimate image into focus. Books, Bibles, and other belongings display the pilgrim preacher's journey from a young boy to a man who reached millions, including this exhibit's designer, Anthony Schmidt.
This one is from his revival campaign in New York City.
He remembers watching Graham on TV with his parents and even attended Graham's last crusade.
Very early on, he embraced technology and media, and that's what set him apart.
For more than 60 years, Graham used radio, television, film, and mass crusades to teach from the Holy Scriptures.
We really wanted to explore how Graham understood and interpreted the Bible, and then how that shaped his ministry.
From now through January, the exhibit contains never-before-seen items from the Billy Graham Library. You can see everything from class notes taken in Bible school to personal message written to his mom and dad, and even a pair of war-issue military boots he wore in Korea in 1952. The exhibit also highlights his impact on culture and politics.
He was the prayer warrior in the family.
Earlier this year, Graham's son and ministry successor told CBN News, despite his father's prominence, he always understood his calling.
My father never wanted to be a celebrity, and maybe that's why God used him.
This is Billy Graham's personal New Testament Bible. Now, throughout his ministry, Billy Graham just wanted to be known as a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is on his tombstone in North Carolina. Throughout this exhibit, you'll see artifacts and images that reinforce just how important the Bible was from the beginning of his ministry to the end, to the sermon that was preached at his funeral.
Billy Graham at the world's...
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Have you been to that museum in Charlotte?
I have not, and I want to go.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I know you were there, I think, for the dedication, weren't you?
Yes, yes. So definitely worth visiting for everybody, if you're down in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week.
Yes, and until then, goodbye.
And God bless you.